Hi, this is Chloe Sears. This is my alternative assignment for Module 1, in which we read the essay about an introduction to philosophy as well as Dr. Needleman's interview. So, one of the things that I find really interesting about the essay, for starters, one of the things that I learned is that this class is going to be more based on individual learning and discovering a sense of self by finding the questions that you have and figuring out your ways to answer them, which I think is really interesting because it's very different from any of my other academic classes, because most of my other academic classes focus on having a broad question in the beginning of the course and then by the end being able to answer it. So philosophy seems to be pretty unique in that way, because you're finding the different types of knowledge and seeing the different changes within yourself, and you're able to apply that newfound wisdom to these large questions that you may have, and it'll help you develop a better sense of self. So I think that that's really interesting, that it's a little bit more of an individual endeavor rather than a really broad thing. It's a lot of like who you are as a person and how you are developing to answer your own questions. So one of the main things that was in the essay that I found a little bit confusing to start with was the idea of dualism. I was confused how the differing pieces within yourself led to an increase of awareness. I didn't make the connection that acknowledging, accepting, and confronting those ideas would allow you to experience and accept that every single portion of who you are within yourself is going to develop your awareness as well as your knowledge, and it's increasing that and allowing you to develop more wisdom. So I guess I didn't make the connection that like the good and evil parts, and by acknowledging that they're both there is allowing me to break down barriers and acknowledge a better sense of self for who I am as a person. And so I just thought that was really interesting because I didn't understand it in the beginning, and I was able to, by the context of the essay, figure out what dualism really, how it was important and applied to philosophy. Another really important thing from the essay that I thought was really interesting was how fast that transition, especially between the mythic and the axial age, was. Like, just looking at the difference, because like mythic was more about an awareness of death and time, and how stories helped to make sense of what was going on, to the axial age, which is like a full developed sense of self, the idea of philosophy, where we're at in modern times. I just thought that was really, really interesting, because it probably took a lot of development and different ideas of wisdom to come to those conclusions, and to fully understand that there are questions that you're not going to be able to answer with just knowledge that you already have. So that like kind of blew my mind. I thought that was kind of surprising, because I didn't expect that transition to be so fast. So I thought that was really interesting. And while I say fast, it was over a long span of years, but in terms of the amount of knowledge that was going from what was initially to what came later, it looks fast because it was just a lot of information. Now, transitioning into the interview with Dr. Needleman, I thought that he had so many really unique things to say about philosophy. Even in just the way that he answered, you can tell that he definitely has a lot of knowledge on the topic, and I thought it was really interesting, especially since I've never taken a class before, to start off with somebody who had so much knowledge. And so a lot of what he said led to an emotional response. I had two specifically. The first was when he was talking about the question was, what do you think children should know about philosophy? And so what he said was that everything has to be earned. And I thought that was really interesting, and I thought it related to another idea he had talked about, that as you work to benefit your surroundings and yourself, the universe will repay you. And the more you do, the more you will receive. So it's kind of like the idea that regardless of how lengthy or difficult the task is that you're working on, you will be repaid, because you are benefiting from benefiting the universe. So you're able to develop yourself even greater as you benefit the universe. And I think that I had an emotional response because it really grounded me, to go back and realize that while I may not 100% love every single task that I'm doing, that by benefiting the universe, I'm able to further develop my sense of self, and further develop my wisdom, and get closer to answering those broad questions that are really big beacons within my life. So I thought that was really, really interesting. A second emotional response that I had within his interview was when he said that he was talking about how it was talking about how when you feel real love, and of some highly developed human or animal, the spiritual human being, I just thought that was, it kind of just connected to me, because I really didn't think of, love is a really, really complex topic, and I didn't really make the connection that it was a part of philosophy until he said that. And it reminded me that it's really powerful spiritually and just emotionally, and I think that I had that emotional connection because I often struggle being empathetic as a person. I know that it's something that I really need to work on, but him saying that we're born being compassionate and born being caring allows me to see that I may have difficulty on the outside. I know that I have the compassion and the caringness within me, and becoming more in touch with my love and my ability to love others will allow me to become more in tune with my sense of self and present myself in a more compassionate and caring way with more of the traits that I present. So I think that just kind of allowed me, it served as a reminder, because sometimes it's hard to feel like I'm not a very empathetic person, and it's feels good to know that it's within me, and that that type of thing is, it's within me, and that I don't need to struggle as much as I think I do. Let's see. And then the final thing that I found really, really interesting, I think that this was kind of an awakening idea, one that inspired me more than made me super depressed or whatever, was his idea about how parents, so that parents are kind of a sense of a godly and spiritual figure. He said the whole thing about how you need to love and honor your parents, because once they pass away, they are going to be replaced by God. And I thought that was really interesting, because I guess I had never seen and made that connection, that a godly figure is really similar to a parent, because a parent is caring and nurturing for you. They're there for every single developmental portion of your life, and that they're watching over you. And that I just thought it was really interesting to make that comparison from a parent to God, that once they're gone, you're going to be able to fully find what you found in them in a spiritual figure. So yeah, really excited to learn more about philosophy, and that's the end of my assignment for Module 1. Thank you for listening.